YouTube has millions and millions of people on the platform, each and every one with their own unique style of content. After all, it is called YouTube at the end of the day. Individuality is a very important key aspect of what YouTube is. But what if it wasn't? You see, there is a growing problem on not just YouTube, but social media as a whole. People tend to have a habit of seeing someone's success and trying to mimic it, hoping that they too will obtain the same results. And oddly enough, for some, it's actually worked. Well, I mean, sort of. If you look at a channel like Morgs or Phidias or Matthew Beam, you might get a hunch that their content is really similar to MrBeast, and you wouldn't be wrong for thinking that. And that's because, well, to be completely blunt, they're copying MrBeast. And mind you, these aren't the only creators doing this. There's millions of other people out there trying to mimic Jimmy's style of content. But then you have to ask yourself this question: if millions of people are copying Jimmy's content, then why are only a few successful? They are, after all, copying MrBeast, one of the most popular content creators on YouTube, and the same person who has claimed that YouTube is all about strategy.
Just one of my friends, like, he was just really struggling, and so I just started showing him basically everything I know and just doing like once every week, sometimes once every 2 weeks calls, and he went from $10,000 a month on YouTube to over 400,000 just doing these little counseling calls. And so, I mean, people can make excuses all they want and say it's just luck, or say, you know, well, anyways, I don't even want to quote all the other stuff, but it's just, it is a teachable skill. It's a learnable skill.
And if his videos aren't doing well, then why aren't everyone else's? Well, over the last week or so, I've watched hundreds of videos in this format, and I discovered quite a few patterns that are going to shock you. So to start off, I'm going to call this section the basic MrBeast rules. And while I'm saying these rules are basic, there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of people who don't seem to notice these patterns within this content. In fact, a lot of the MrBeast clones that are copying his content seem to miss this very simple tactic, except for the few people who tend to be successful. But to understand why, we need to look at what Jimmy does. MrBeast isn't someone who's sticking to one format. In fact, he's like if a YouTube channel was a bag of trail mix and actually tasted good. You get some challenges here and there, then you get some videos that focus more towards him and his friends. Overall, he's giving his audience more variety, making his channel feel, let's just say, less repetitive. However, despite having a variety of different content to watch from, they all still follow the same rules and stick to his brand, which we'll get more into later. But his clones know this all too well, and that's why they're successful. They know that sticking to one type of MrBeast video isn't going to work and never will. They know if they're going to want to bring people back to watch another video, they're going to need to be creative with what type of content they make next. And most importantly, they need to follow one of the most important MrBeast rules of all. Now, have you ever watched a MrBeast video and just went, holy shit? Chances are, you've probably watched a MrBeast intro and felt a lot of excitement from it.
I just bought this train and it is currently barreling full speed towards that giant pit over there.
And this is because he's spoiling the video.
We're also crashing countless cars, blowing up thousands of sticks of real dynamite, and even putting 10 jet engines on a car, just to show you the most insane experiments of all time. Starting with filling a house with over 100,000 fireworks. Please do not try this in your house.
And okay, that might have sounded weird, like what, he's spoiling the video? Who would want to do that? Wouldn't that ruin the video? It's like if you wanted to go see a movie, but the person next to you spoiled the ending. You probably wouldn't want to watch that movie because it's been tainted for you. Though if done tastefully, spoilers can actually be beneficial to not just the audience, but also the video. Let's think of it like this. You want to watch a movie, but are unsure if it'll be worth your time or something you might enjoy. So you decide to watch the trailer. While trailers aren't necessarily giving you all the information, they are, however, meant to do the very same thing that a MrBeast intro does: build up anticipation. So in better words, an intro to a MrBeast video is essentially that video's trailer, and treating it as such hasn't just worked for only Jimmy, but his clones as well. All in all, they're making promises throughout the video to hook people in, and even if that comes at the price of spoiling spoiling things to your viewers, you're trapping your audience's engagement by leading them on, from giving them the what in the story, leading them wanting to know how it happened. But that's not the only thing keeping people watching. There's actually 2 more things that MrBeast clones do that oddly enough follow the same techniques that people use in film and television. Let's start with something simple, plot points. Something that MrBeast has started to show more love for with every new upload that he makes. And honestly, something that's best shown in one of his latest videos. You see, MrBeast doesn't only build anticipation through his intros, he's also keeping people hooked by offering cliffhangers throughout sequences. But what are sequences, and how is he building cliffhangers off of them? Well, this brings us to something a bit more complex. In film and editing, each scene is built up of sequences. Imagine a sequence as its own little story within the film. There's a hook and a fall off that usually completes the scene. You actually see a lot of that in MrBeast videos too, but in this case, he follows something called the 3-2-1 guideline, a guideline that editors use to help build tension within scenes visually. Let's take a look at this sequence from one of Jimmy's videos. In this scene, you can see it start off with Jimmy and his friends waiting to blow up the house with fireworks. That's the hook and the start of the sequence. In the next clip, as they're setting off the fireworks, you can start to see the guideline in place to build up tension and suspense. For most people who wouldn't know how to edit the sequence, they might show one cut of the house being set off in one take and maybe throw in a couple of perspectives. But what's special about this is how long this cut lasts and the multiple shots being cut back and forth from Jimmy and his friends' reactions to the house exploding.
It's gonna be the coolest thing you have ever seen in your life. Yes! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire in the hole!
What happened to the house? I can't even see it anymore. This is terrifying. Oh my God.
I don't think our mannequins are gonna make it.
The house burned down all night until there was literally nothing left.
The editors aren't letting the audience see the results right away. Instead, they're extending the section of the sequence to purposely keep you waiting. And the odd thing is, by keeping the viewers waiting, it creates a very satisfying result to finally see the outcome and ending of this sequence. But this isn't the only way to build tension and keep viewers waiting. As said before, Jimmy and his clones do this by leaving cliffhangers throughout the video. Most people associate cliffhangers for something you'd see at the end of a movie or TV show, but it's something that can be done through plot points. Anyone who writes scripts or shows and movies knows this too well. In this video, at first glance, it may feel like MrBeast is doing a bunch of crazy stuff, like crashing a train into a pit. And for most people, they may think that the main plot of the video is just MrBeast doing insane things that only someone of his wealth could do. But that's not the case whatsoever. If you watch just a minute further, he introduces the true plot of the video. A person who needs money and has to struggle to find a way to protect a cash prize so he can keep it and go home to his family with a new and better future. And while watching this video, I found myself not watching all the crazy stunts, but waiting with anticipation to see how on earth this random person is going to win a huge cash prize. Don't get me wrong though, it was really fun to watch MrBeast crash a train into a pit and watch him fly a car. But I couldn't get the thought of the real plot point of the video out of the back of my head. It was building up with anticipation, which made it all the more satisfying when I reached the end. But I and all the people who watched the video wouldn't have felt the same way if it wasn't for these different plot points in the video. Having this non-linear structure serves a very important purpose. And just like Jimmy, clones like Matthew Beam are successful for following this pretty simple rule. But he's not as successful as MrBeast. Even though he averages around 1 million views a video, he's nowhere near the size of Jimmy. That's because him and all these other MrBeast clones are still missing something. Why is it that despite how similar these videos can be, that MrBeast still beats them all? And what can they do to be on the same level as him? What is it that they're missing? Now, this might sound really crazy at first, but the main thing that all these clones are missing is that they're too focused on the content. Which, I'm gonna be honest with you, you're probably thinking right now, like, you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? We just spent half this video discussing discussing content. Just take a quick breather because trust me, it's all gonna make sense. If you start to compare videos between Mr. Beast and his clones and pay super close attention, you begin to notice something massive missing. But to see it, we need to understand Mr. Beast's branding. With a lot of his videos, every time you click on one, there's always a specific understanding that you're gonna see something very specific, and that being human connection, which might sound a bit strange or obvious, but just hear me out. Let's look at this video where Mr. Beast gave his friends an hour to spend $100,000 and compare it to a video from Morgs where he gave his family 5 minutes to spend $5,000 on the internet. When you look at Mr. Beast's video, you see the video start off with his friends happy, then struggling to figure out what to do with all the money. There's a lot of tension building up, but every so minute, that tension breaks. See, Mr. Beast breaks tension through the basic human interactions you see day to day. It's like someone abruptly flipping a switch from a high intense moment to something heartwarming and soft. Seeing a group of people spending time with strangers, not trying to do anything specific for the video, but instead taking a deep breath and pause with the audience by doing the bare minimum of acting like human beings.
Alright, so just bought a PlayStation for his son.
That's right, I'm
Because
so
we love
grateful.
getting back.
Thank you so much. Please subscribe to their channel, and they are the best.
And that's what the Mr. Beast brand is. It's a promise. He's guaranteeing if you click on one of his videos, you're going to see a moment like this in every single one. Now, if you look at Morgs' video, there's nothing there to break that tension of his family trying to struggle throughout the challenge. The video feels flat. He doesn't try to break the tension, and he's putting too much trust in the challenge itself. Now, there's one more thing that I found watching Jimmy's videos that honestly struck me in a weird way, and it's that Jimmy grounds himself in his audience's experience. Let's take a look at some individual frames from one of Jimmy's videos. At first glance, it just looks like they're in a store completing a challenge, but if you really start looking, you may notice that these locations are all the same. In fact, I lied, by the way. These frames aren't even from one video. These are individual frames from every Mr. Beast video that revolves around this specific challenge. You see, all the stores that Jimmy and his friends like to showcase all tend to be the average place that a typical person may shop from, which doesn't just make the video feel a bit nostalgic, but it makes the challenge feel more limiting. Consider if each person went only to a bunch of fancy stores that you most likely haven't shopped in before. As a viewer, you don't know what's there, and most importantly, aren't familiar with how limiting it may be. However, if you go to a Walmart, you as an average viewer, you already know what's in a Walmart, and it may make you wonder what type of crazy things or how many things could you even buy with $100,000 at a Walmart or a Best Buy. In fact, it may start making you personally think what you would do in that situation too. And if you look back at the same Morgs video shown before, there's no limit placed. His entire family is free to buy anything off the internet, which makes the challenge feel less challenging and feel more like watching a bunch of rich people on a shopping spree. In short, Mr. Beast's friends are given the option to go wherever they want, but the fact that they choose to go to these places makes it all the more enticing. At the end of the day, Mr. Beast isn't just making videos. He's building a brand through content creation by giving his audience expectations for every single video. This can be done in a lot of different ways, but for Mr. Beast, it's not so much about the challenges that he presents in his videos, but more so has to do with the connection that he builds with his community both on and off YouTube. Because you know, when you watch a Mr. Beast video, you're not only going to get all these intense and high energy challenges, you're also going to get those really satisfying feel-good moments in between. You know, at the end of the day, when watching a Mr. Beast video, you're going to see people acting like humans and not robotic content creators. His videos for most are comforting because of this. His audience knows they're not wasting their time with a Mr. Beast video, which all in all should be the goal for anyone who makes content. If you found this information to be helpful whatsoever and you'd like one-on-one help with social media and organic content, Hookpoint has a team of specialists that can help you out. If you're at all interested, down below in the description there's a link and you can click on it and you can book a call with one of our specialists.